Alright, imagine this. A huge, tough guy with a gangster reputation, radiating big boss energy. And to top it off, he's incredibly talented at whatever he does. If he walks into a school and meets a famously strict, bald teacher, do you think that guy is going to listen to him? Definitely not. Unless there's some kind of dark magic or love potion involved, there's no way he's behaving. And right here, we have Zlatan Ibrahimovic versus Pep Guardiola, two opposite magnetic poles. On one side, you have a guy famous for his arrogance, a massive ego, a wild freestyle way of playing, and of course, the generational talent to back up that swagger. On the other side, you have a man who wants everything systematic and highly disciplined. When the boss speaks, you listen. Cross Master Pep and you're dead in 100 ways. These two personalities are like unique contrasting brushstrokes in football, creating some incredibly spicy drama. But if they hadn't met, there wouldn't be any pain. So, why did Ibra want to join Barca under Pep in the first place? Because of all the clubs that Zlatan played for, there was only one club that he didn't win anything. That was Juventus. At that time, the Calciopoli scandal shook the football world when 5 Serie A teams, Juventus, AC Milan, Fiorentina, Lazio and Regina, were accused of match fixing. Juventus won the title during those 2 seasons, but were stripped of the trophies and relegated. This very event forced Zlatan to pack his bags and move to Inter Milan. There, the Inter Milan form skyrocketed, winning 3 consecutive Scudettos in 2006 to 2007, 2007 to 2008, and 2008 to 2009. Later on in his autobiography, I Am Zlatan, the veteran revealed that Barcelona was his dream club ever since he was a kid. Plus, Barca was dominating Europe at the time, but their main striker, Samuel Eto'o, was acting like an untamed horse and becoming hard to manage, so Pep wanted to ship him out. What reason was there to reject a striker who had just conquered Italy 3 times in a row? So, to summarize why Ibra went to Barca, Ibra was in his prime, Barca was his dream team, and Barca needed a new striker. Oh, I forgot, Ibra was also desperately hunting for a Champions League trophy, and Barca was the ideal place to get it. All of this created a European transfer blockbuster to rival Real Madrid's spending spree. Samuel Eto'o plus 46 million euros was the price Barca paid for Ibra. A willing buyer and a willing seller. Completely logical. But things did not go the way we imagined. When he first arrived at Barca, Ibra probably experienced massive culture shock. Here, he realized that Barca was like a strict boarding school, and the students had to be perfectly obedient and polite to the teachers. Messi, Iniesta, Xavi, they all followed Master Pep blindly. If he said run, they ran. If he said jump, they jumped. No, we don't do that in Italy. Ibra was way too used to players talking back and freely voicing their disagreements. But for the sake of his career, Ibra had to play the role of the good student. This made him deeply uncomfortable because he couldn't be his authentic self. And you know how it is? Whatever gets suppressed for too long will eventually explode. During his first season at Barca, the veteran actually made club history by becoming the first player to score in his first 5 consecutive league matches. Sporting Gijón, Getafe, Atletico Madrid, Racing Santander, and Malaga were all victims. This scoring streak showed Zlatan's rapid and deadly integration into the Barcelona squad right after arriving. When Zlatan first joined Barcelona in the summer of 2009, Pep Guardiola primarily deployed him as a striker, the one that got most of the ball inside the box. But the honeymoon phase didn't last. At the beginning, Messi was going through a slightly inconsistent patch, giving Ibra the freedom to shine. But when Messi bounced back, everything shifted in a direction Ibra hated. When he first arrived, Ibra was deployed in his natural, favoured position as a true number 9 in a 4-3-3 system. He started brilliantly, but after a while, Pep decided to tweak the tactics to a 4-5-1. This meant Messi was moved into the centre, right behind Ibra. Pep wanted to maximise his star pupil's abilities in the middle, playing as a false 9. To give Messi the space he needed to operate centrally, Ibrahimovic was frequently ordered to drift out wide to the wings, or play much further away from the penalty box than he liked. He was no longer the focal point of the attack. Zlatan felt he was being sacrificed for Messi, and his own strengths were being wasted. He is a classic target man, powerful in the box, needing service in that exact area. Being forced to hug the touchline or roam outside the box completely contradicted his style. Even though he had huge respect for Messi, with his immense pride, Lord Ibra wasn't about to just take orders without a satisfactory explanation. It seems Zlatan never fully bought into Barca's "Més que un club", more than a club philosophy, which heavily emphasized collective identity, Catalan culture, and community values. He was an elite mercenary, focused on individual dominance and personal output, rather than deeply connecting with the club's ideological soul. To touch briefly on Pep's leadership style, do you guys notice what these players all have in common? These are all players who talked back to Pep and were immediately exiled. Pep Guardiola is the absolute embodiment of the system first philosophy. He builds his playstyle on meticulous control, absolute tactical discipline, and the strict demand that every individual, no matter how talented, must serve as a cog in the collective machine. Pep's style demands compliance, sacrifice, and putting the team above the ego. However, his communication style is heavily focused on tactics, and he is often criticized for being indirect when it comes to personal conflicts. Pep is a genius at conveying tactical ideas, but in interpersonal relationships, he can be conflict avoidant. Players like Ibra felt he was never straightforward when there was a real issue. On the flip side, Zlatan Ibrahimovic is a superstar with a colossal ego. He is supremely confident in his ability to be the main difference maker and craves being the absolute center of the attack. He plays on instinct and swagger, needing freedom to maximize his individual brilliance. He also heavily prefers blunt, aggressive, face-to-face communication. The contrast is glaring. Where Pep demands sacrifice for the collective and strict tactical obedience, like pushing Ibra wide to serve Messi, Ibra demanded the freedom to express his killer instincts and wanted the team built around him like a true striker. Pep's micromanagement clashed violently with Ibra's need for freedom. The Spanish manager's collective first leadership was simply incompatible with the Swedish giant's alpha male personality. It was an unbridgeable rift. Basically, it was a clash between a system-first mastermind and an individual brilliant superstar. They were like oil and water. Zlatan actively tried to talk things out with Pep. He wanted a clear, man-to-man dialogue to solve the issue. In his book, Zlatan mentioned waiting for Pep in the dressing room or the hallways multiple times. However, Pep seemingly dodged these direct encounters on purpose. Zlatan recalled that Pep would just walk past him, look away, or give a one-word answer and bolt, never allowing a real conversation to happen. Zlatan felt completely ignored and branded Pep's behavior as cowardly. This agonizing silence and avoidance only fueled Zlatan's rage and made him feel deeply disrespected. It's frustrating. He wanted clarity, but only got baffling silence. The tension finally peaked after a Champions League loss to Inter Milan, combined with several baffling substitutions. In the dressing room after a La Liga match against Villarreal, Zlatan couldn't hold back the pent-up rage anymore. He exploded at Pep. According to the stories, Zlatan screamed in Pep's face, kicked a heavy metal training kit box, weighing around 30 kilograms across the room, luckily missing everyone, and hurled absolute insults at him. "You have no balls! You're shitting yourself in front of Mourinho!" The crazy part? During Zlatan's massive rampage, Pep Guardiola stayed completely silent. He didn't react, didn't yell back. He just quietly picked up the metal box and walked out. For Zlatan, this silence was the ultimate proof of a cowardly, conflict-avoidant coach. But honestly, given Zlatan's explosive personality, Pep's reaction makes a lot of sense. The inevitable result? One season later, the veteran was loaned out and eventually sold to AC Milan. In the end, Zlatan going to Barcelona wasn't necessarily a mistake, it was just the wrong time, a time when Barca needed someone with a totally different personality. Parting ways was the best move for everyone. The proof is that Ibra went on to dominate at AC Milan, PSG, and Manchester United. Everywhere he went, the Swedish captain left a massive legacy. But men are men. Grudges fade. During a summer pre-season tour in New York, after AC Milan beat Man City 3-2, Pep actively walked over to shake Zlatan's hand. By this time, Zlatan was an advisor for the Rossoneri, and Pep was the head boss at City. Ibra even shared this moment on his Instagram. It showed that despite the fiery, toxic conflicts of the past, these two footballing giants still harbour deep mutual respect and are ready to let bygones be bygones. The story of Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Pep Guardiola wasn't just a locker room drama, it is one of football's greatest case studies on the irreconcilable clash between two completely opposite philosophies. In the end, they both went their separate ways and cemented their legendary status. But their time together at Camp Nou will always be remembered as an expensive lesson in man management, proving that sometimes, no matter how much talent is in the room, some personalities simply cannot coexist. And that is all of the video. If you are still watching up to this point, please hit that like and subscribe button.